kids, welcome to Kids Point. We are continuing with our series. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. Have you ever had a need? Maybe something that you had to pay for, or your parents had to pay for, or I don't know, whatever it is, something that you really needed, but you couldn't quite get because, well, you maybe didn't have the money or the resources or whatever it was. Well, in today's story, we're going to find out about something that Jesus did to help one of his disciples. It was a crazy thing that he did, and it was a very big need. The disciple was Peter. Peter needed money kind of desperately because he needed to pay for taxes. And, well, I don't want to get into the story just yet. So, before I do, what you gotta know?
What's happening, you crazy cats? It's me, Disco Dave, and I'm here to tell you what you gotta know. Today, we're learning that God will provide for our needs. So today, every time somebody asks you what you gotta know, you tell them, when I have a need, God will provide. God can help us with everything we need. Everything? Whoa. Yep, everything. God knows exactly what you need, and he will provide every time. So today, every time somebody asks you what you gotta know, you tell them, when I have a need, God will provide. That right there is what you gotta know. I'm Disco Dave saying, Dynamite!
So kids, what you gotta know? When I have a need, God will provide. Can you say it with me? When I have a need, God will provide. Can you say it? Awesome. Okay, so I started telling you a little bit about the story that we're talking about today. Now, Peter is known to have a very big mouth, and in this case, it's not any different. You see, they were in the temple, Jesus and the disciples, and of course Peter. And all of a sudden, the Pharisees, the people in the temple, came up to him, and he's like, hey, does your teacher not pay the temple tax? Because they had to pay a tax to be able to be in the temple, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, and so Peter was like, well, of course he does. Why would you think he doesn't, Knowing full well that they don't have money. You see, Peter, when he chose to follow Jesus, he left the only way of making money for himself. And now he was promising these Pharisees that they would pay the tax. Well, now he had an issue. Now he has to pay this tax that he doesn't have any money for, and he doesn't know what to do. So he did the smart thing. He went up to Jesus and he said, well, as he's walking up to Jesus, Jesus looks at him and says, hey, what do you think, Peter? Does the king tax its own people or the foreigners that he's conquered? And Peter's like, did you just ask me a question about taxes? You see, Jesus already knew the dilemma that Peter was in. And so Jesus, I can only imagine Jesus must have looked at Peter's shocked face and said, oh man, I'm not going to string him along. He's like, okay, Peter, this is what you need to do. We don't want to offend anyone. We don't want this issue to become an issue because it's really not an issue. So go down to the lake, grab a fishing pole, and first fish that comes out is going to have a gold coin in its mouth. So go get it. And he's like, okay. Now, can you imagine how hard that must have been? Like going down to the lake and fishing for one fish that's supposed to have money in its mouth. I would have felt like the most awkward person ever, but he obeyed. He went, fished out the fish, and guess what? It was just as Jesus had said. There was a coin in the fish's mouth. And now they could go pay the temple tax that he had promised the Pharisees. Now, if that's not a crazy story, I don't know what is. Now, it's awesome because Jesus knew the need before Peter even came and told him. And he knew exactly what to do. Even if it was a weird way of doing it or a crazy way of doing it, Jesus still provided. And we can always count on that.
A little sweet and the salt. A little sweet. Oh, hey boys and girls, it's me, Teriyaki, and I was just cooking up something tasty for my restaurant, Nice Rice. It's a 5-star fine dining establishment that's famous for, you guessed it, my rice. Hard to mess that up. Now today I'm also cooking up a very special power verse. The trouble is, I'm famous for getting things mixed up. Eggs aren't the only thing I scramble. I mix up the ingredients, the names of our dishes, and even the power verse. So I'm gonna need your help unscrambling the whole thing today. So let's look at it together. And Corinthians will generously provide God. 2 all you need 9:8. No, that is wrong. Very mixed up. Kinda like the time I accidentally scrambled the chickens instead of the eggs. There is nothing worse than a bunch of dizzy chickens running around your kitchen. Ooh, that was rough. Anyway, boys and girls, I'm gonna need your help getting this one unscrambled. Let's take a look at it together. And Corinthians will generously provide God. Whoops, that's a mix-up. I think Corinthians and God are in the wrong spot. Let's try swapping them. And God will generously provide Corinthians. I guess he did create the Corinthians, but I bet that's the book of the Bible. Let's move it over. Where's it say this verse is found? All you need 9:8. That's not right. I bet Corinthians goes there, and all you need goes in that blank. Should we try it? I think so. Yes, that's it. I think we have it. Now stand with me and say it loud on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And God will generously provide all you need. 2 Corinthians 9:8. That's a great power verse. Now, let's make sure we really know it so when we need to remember it later, it's not all mixed up in our brains. Stand up and say it loud on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And God will generously provide all you need. 2 Corinthians 9:8. Great job, boys and girls. Now, I've got to get back to seasoning my soup. A little bit of summer, a dash of winter, a pinch of autumn, and a sprinkle of spring. A sprinkle. Anyway, the customers are waiting. So until next time, this is Teriyaki saying, ladles up.
So, in our story, the main character has gone fishing. You know, I don't know if you've ever had to experience having a huge need. You know, sometimes our parents go through a lot of stress trying to figure out how to pay for things. Or maybe you wanted to do something big, but your parents maybe didn't have the money to do it. Or, I don't know, maybe you've been in a situation where just there was no money and you just felt stuck. Well, that's how Peter felt. And now we have some choices we can make during this time. We can either freak out, like, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? How am I gonna pay for this? How am I gonna come up with the money? Now, let me tell you, I have done that and it doesn't really help. No money just appears because I start freaking out. Or we can do what Peter did. He went to Jesus, brought this need up to his attention and said, hey, Jesus, we need to pay this tax. And Jesus provided a way. And that's the lesson for us in this story. When you have a need, come to Jesus first. That's the lesson that we can learn from Peter in this story. He didn't go out and try to come up with some crazy scheme to come up with money. He didn't go sell brownies. He didn't set up a magic show. He didn't do any of those things. Now, are those things in and of themselves bad? Well, no, they're not. God can use those things to provide too. But that shouldn't be that shouldn't be the first thing we think of doing. The first thing we think of doing should be going to Jesus and saying, Lord Jesus, this is my need. And did you notice in the story, Jesus already knew about the need. He already he already had a plan for it. He already had something set up for Peter to do. That's the point in this. Jesus knows your need. He knows our needs. He knows the solution, the best solution. And sometimes it's a crazy solution, but he knows the best solution for our need. And as we keep obeying and are faithful in that, God will provide. Just be obedient, you guys. Yeah, weird things. God asks us to do weird things sometimes. I'm sure that Peter felt very awkward, casting the fishing pole. And he was a fisherman. He knew how to fish. Maybe it would make more sense to cast a whole net to, make sure that he got the right fish. But no, Jesus told him to cast the fishing pole, one line, so that he would catch one fish, and that one fish was supposed to have the money. Now it's like, if you think about it, that's a little crazy. Why would I only want to cast one fishing line? I mean, it's already crazy that I'm thinking about getting money from a fish, but casting one line just to get one fish and hoping that one fish has the one coin to pay for the taxes, that it's a lot. Yeah, it required trust on Peter's side, but he did it anyway. He cast the fishing line, got the one fish, and that one fish had the coin. Now, boys and girls, you might have a need that seems so big that you can't possibly find a solution for. Maybe you feel like there's nothing that you can do. Remember, the first thing that we need to do is go to Jesus and say, Jesus, this is my need. And remember, he already knows the need. He already has a solution for it. All you have to do is trust that he is going to provide a way, no matter what the need is, no matter how big the need is or how out of reach it seems. God always has a way to provide. And I've experienced that in my life so many times. God always provides a way. I've never had to go without food. I've never had to go without a home. I've never had to go without the needs that I have, because he's a good father. He's not going to abandon you. He's not going to leave you to try to figure stuff out on your own. He's there to help you. But we need to trust him. We need to be faithful in obeying him, and he will provide. Boys and girls, I'm so happy that you got to join us here today. It's a beautiful fall day. The sun is out and shining, and I am so happy that we're almost done with all this heat. Oh my goodness. But anyway, I hope that you guys will be able to learn from Peter and go to Jesus when you have a need, and not try to solve it on your own first, but try to trust Jesus and let him solve your issues for you, because he's never going to leave you. He's never going to forsake you. And he loves you so much that he already has a solution. He already knows the need, and he has a solution for you. And we can trust and rest in that knowledge, because he is love, and he loves us, and he's always going to have a solution for you. Well, I hope you have a great Sunday. I hope that you are enjoying this fall weather as much as I am. And I hope that as we start this new season, that you would also be able to start trusting in the Lord even more. Love you guys. Have a great Sunday. See you next time. Bye.